All right, hello and welcome to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Several news stories that I want to bring to you today. Guys, did you know that Jimmy Hoffa has officially been dead or have disappeared for 48 years ago, or 48 years now? And I know what you're thinking. Who gives a damn? Anyway, we will talk about that somewhat briefly because it is a fascinating story. And honestly, it adds to the mystique and the disgrace, in my opinion, of the FBI. So we'll talk about that just somewhat briefly. I happened to catch a Fox News article that popped up over the weekend that spoke about that. So yesterday was the 48-year anniversary. The CDC detects coronavirus, HIV, hepatitis, and a herpes at an unlicensed California lab that is apparently owned by the Chinese. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I suspect there's more to it than that. So we'll get into that. Also, Devon Archer is set to testify before the House Oversight Committee today, behind the walls, so to speak. So it's only going to be a transcribed interview. Devon Archer was Hunter Biden's former best friend and business partner. The DOJ tried to make sure that he went to prison to serve his 1 year, 1 day before he got an opportunity to testify today before the House Oversight Committee. It just lets you know how corrupt the DOJ is and how corrupt, I shouldn't say that, actually how corrupt Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are, because remember, that used to be Hunter Biden's best friend and business partner, but they want him to shut his mouth. And man, I would be concerned that I would get Jeffrey Epsteined, so to speak, if I were Devon Archer. So I think they tried to intimidate him a little bit, let them know just how full and complete and powerful they are sitting in the White House. But he will be testifying apparently today in front of the House Oversight Committee behind closed doors. Another story that I want to bring to your attention today is, Hunter Biden's laptop is full of secret agreements and contracts with foreign business partners. So we'll delve into that. And there's another thing that's happening that really frustrates me, simply because I don't see the pushback, and it has to do with electrical vehicles and all of this man-made climate change. Guys, listen, there's no doubt that men impact the climate. The question is it to a degree in which it's negative, that it hurts the planet? And the answer is absolutely not. You have real scientists that aren't being paid by the government that are willing to tell the truth and say, listen, yes, man impacts the environment or the climate minimally over the last 100 years. They suspect maybe to a degree or so, if that. But that's accounted for, and we've adjusted for it as well. So all of this man-made global warming nonsense is and this hysteria is just a way to keep you in fear and for the government to gain control. They've set out models that are, saying that we've experienced the worst heat in the month of July, that, we had the worst July 4th or Independence Day heat in over 125,000 years, yet the models only go as far back, I think, as 1979. These people just lie. But what concerns me and this is a long introduction, forgive me, but here it is. Biden imposes higher fuel economy standards on automakers. I want to talk about that because unfortunately there isn't any pushback from the right, it seems to me, on this issue. Biden just keeps moving forward with this agenda, and we're the ones that are going to be stuck with the bag, and ultimately our freedom is going to be wiped away. So I fear that if we don't start talking about this issue, if we don't start fighting back against this narrative that you're going to die with climate change, and that we need to go to EVs, despite the fact that they're actually worse for the environment, I think we're going to lose America. We're going to lose freedom, as if we're not already. Anyway, I've got that and more that we'll talk about. That was the longest introduction, I think, in Carl Jackson podcast history. But those are some of the topics that I've gravitated towards this weekend, and so I want to talk to you about them. By the way, this show is brought to you by MyPillow, MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell at MyPillow has a fabulous company that provides American jobs and American manufacturing. And right now, you can get the queen size MyPillow for just $19.98. The regular price is $69.98. If you want a king size, it's $29.98. But it's a major discount. All you have to do is go to MyPillow.com, click on the Radio podcast square that's at the top of the page and enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Again, that number, 800-858-0263, and tell them my name, Carl, to get your deal, your 1998 queen size My Pillow, which is pretty amazing, 10-year warranty, 60-day money back guarantee. And also there are a plethora of products that are available. Anything that you may have wanted to buy on My Pillow, now there are deep discounts available, including my slippers, dog beds, mattress toppers, you name it. Deep discounts available for you right now at mypillow.com. Use the promo code Carl. Also follow me on all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All right. So follow me there. We certainly appreciate it. And then if you want to subscribe to the podcast, or if you would subscribe to the podcast, please subscribe to the Carl Jackson Show. We would certainly appreciate that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're starting to get traction there. And I really appreciate you guys that have signed on or subscribed there already. Also on Rumble. I love Rumble. It's a free speech platform. So subscribe there and rate and review us. Give us a 5, please. That would certainly help us out. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break for some program messaging, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. All right, so there's 8 questions that needs to be asked of Devon Archer that Congress should ask. Hat tip to Just the News for this, and I think they are pertinent. And these are some of the questions that I think are that I'm going to go through with you. Also, Hunter Biden's laptop full of secret agreements and contracts with the foreign business partners. CDC detects coronavirus, HIV, hepatitis, and herpes at an unlicensed California lab. Actually, let me start here. All right, so this is according to NBC News, and I'm a little suspicious of this article. I got to admit, I actually heard my buddies, the American Adversaries, talking about this. I looked up this article, and the CDC, or actually it happened to be on the tip sheet this morning. So the CDC detects coronavirus, HIV, hepatitis, and herpes at an unlicensed California lab. So here's the summary. Local and federal authorities spent months investigating a warehouse in Fresno, California. For those of you that don't know, that's in the northern part of California, not far north, but headed north anyway. So they spend time investigating a warehouse in Fresno, California, that they suspect was home to an illegal, unlicensed laboratory full of lab mice, medical waste, and hazardous materials. This, according to NBC News. The Fresno County Public Health Department has been, quote, evaluating and assessing the activities of an unlicensed laboratory, close quote. In Reedley, the health department's assistant director, Joe Prado, said in a statement Thursday, all of the biological agents were destroyed by July 7th following a legal abatement process by the agency. Joe Prado goes on to say, and he's the health department's assistant for the Fresno County Public Health Department. He says, and I quote, the evaluation required coordination and collaboration with multiple federal and state agencies to determine and classify biological and chemical contents on site, in addition to assessing jurisdictional authority under this unique situation, he says. According to court documents, city officials inspected the location at 850 I Street on March 3rd for building violations and found various chemicals that were being stored inside. On March 16th, an inspection by county public officials allegedly turned up medical devices thought to have been developed on site, such as COVID and pregnancy tests that were developed on site. Certain rooms, and I'm quoting from the Fresno County Public Health Office, certain rooms of the warehouse were found to contain several vessels of liquid and various apparatus. I mean, so this stuff could be very dangerous, right? If it were to get out into the public, it could cause some serious damage to the surrounding populations. And God knows these diseases could obviously spread. So Fresno County Public Health staff also observed blood, tissue, and other bodily fluid samples and serums and thousands of vials of unlabeled fluids and suspected biological material right in Northern California. Hundreds of mice at the warehouse were kept in inhumane conditions, according to the health office of Fresno County. Court documents confirmed that the mice were kept in inhumane conditions. The city took possession of animals in April. They euthanized 773 of them. 175 of them were dead. The CDC tested the substances and detected at least 20 potentially infectious agents, including coronavirus, HIV, hepatitis, and herpes, according to a Health and Human Services letter. An investigation found that the tenant was Prestige Biotech. This is a company registered in Nevada and an unlicensed for business in California. City officials spoke with, I can't pronounce this name, but Xingwan Yao, who was identified as the company president through emails included in the court documents. Yao told officials that Prestige Biotech moved assets belonging to a defunct company, Universal Meditech Inc., all right, to the Reedley warehouse from Fresno. After Universal Meditech Inc. went under, Prestige Biotech was a creditor to UMI and identified as its successor, according to the court. Officials were unable to get any California-based address for either company except for the previous Fresno location from which UMI had been evicted. The other address, and this is according to court documents, and I quote, the other addresses provided for identified authorized agents were either empty offices or addresses in China that could not be verified, according to the report. Prestige Biotech is accused of failing to comply with orders, including providing a plan for biological abatement and disposal of the materials. Emails sent to Yao and Prestige Biotech requesting comment were not immediately answered on Thursday. Prado told NBC affiliate KSEE of Fresno that those associated with Prestige Biotech were not forthcoming with information. Court documents say they failed to provide any licensing or permit that allows experimentation or other laboratory activity. Reedley City Manager Nicole Ziba told KSEE that officials have cleared the area of hazardous materials, but are still working to empty the warehouse. Some of our federal partners still have active investigations going. I can only speak to the building side of it. Okay, so one, obviously this is very dangerous. If any of this material was to get out to the public, God knows China could be developing using a place like this or using this company, Prestige Biotech. For all I know, they could be a subsidiary of the CCP. So they could be using these companies to develop biological weapons right here in the United States of America, particularly in places like California. So that obviously is a bad thing. But there's something missing here. I'm like, you have live rats, right? I mean, many are mice. Many were found dead as well. Did they have any staffers there on site? There's something about this story that's odd to me. Like something is missing here. I can't exactly put my finger on it, but it makes me want to. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you guys know we've been living in an upside down United States of America in the last several years, and it's just driving me crazy. So when I read stories like this, I don't necessarily look at them with the same eye. My first instinct is to say, okay, possible biological weapons that could be produced to harm local communities. Perhaps it could get out into a local community. God knows where these people would go and spread some of these diseases in other parts of the country, other parts of the state, or what have you. But also, the CDC has come under fire. Why? Because of the COVID lockdowns, because of all of the lying that they did during the lockdowns and having to do with COVID. And it's funny to me that all of a sudden a story like this pops up on NBC News. And who do we rely on to save us from this potential bioweapons lab? The CDC. Huh. It's weird. It's weird. I just don't look at stories the same way anymore. And they could be simple, right? It could be simple. It could be as simple as this Prestige Biotech had all of these vials and other liquids, fluids, or what have you, serums that were available, and they didn't intend to do anything with them except to store them. It could be maybe they intended to develop these more to hurt the American public. Or could it be, since there's still an ongoing investigation, which means shut up and we're not going to talk to you when it comes to any of the federal government agencies, that they can look good and they can look like the people that are the only people that could handle such a crisis again, even though they completely failed at when it came to the COVID lockdowns. I don't know. But I thought that was a fascinating story. Another story that I want to bring to your attention if I can find it. Now, Jimmy Hoffa. All right. So yesterday, I was reading through this column on Fox. Jimmy Hoffa, it marks 48 years since Jimmy, now I got to find it, marks 48 years since Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. Let me see if I can find this here thing. Do I still have it? Did I delete it? Apparently it's been, okay, man, I must have deleted it. Oh, that stinks. Anyway, it's been about 48 years, or 48 years, I believe, is the anniversary that Jimmy Hoffa just basically, oh, here it is, that Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. All right, let me just read some of the article from Fox News. The FBI and the DOJ can close the Jimmy Hoffa case and announce who they think did it. Since July 30th of 1975, when the legendary Teamsters president Jimmy Hoffa disappeared, the claims, theories, and speculations have fueled one of the greatest mysteries in American history. Honestly, guys, I really don't think this is a mystery. I just like to know who's involved. Is it time for the FBI to release the still redacted and hidden documents that remain classified and announce who investigators believe were responsible? But now it appears the answers end in Detroit. All right, and guys, I got to tell you, all along, whenever this Jimmy Hoffa stuff, where's Jimmy Hoffa buried? I'm like, please, you're not going to find this fool after all these years. I always assume that whomever killed him literally probably cremated his body, or they fed him to the fishes somewhere. You know what I mean? So I never assumed that the guy's body would be found, and it's always led to the mystique, obviously, of this. But I got it. But also, I want to state that the FBI. I don't trust the FBI. Like, I don't understand why we would still be trying to conceal information when it comes to Jimmy Hoffa, unless the information somehow hurt the FBI. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Frankly, I'm sure it was horrible then, but it doesn't make any sense to conceal this information now. What purpose does it serve at this point to conceal any information from the public? It absolutely serves no purpose, in my opinion. There are a lot of people that say that they believe Jimmy Hoffa was killed exactly where he was saw last, and that was in Detroit. James P. Hoffa, Jimmy Hoffa's son, is currently writing a book, according to Fox. It's called My Name is Hoffa, and it's expected to blame mobsters in Detroit for his father's death. The reputed current head of the Detroit mob family, a guy by the name of Jackie the Kid Cologne, told me, this is Jimmy Hoffa's son, that he thinks we are at a dead end after so many years, and he denies knowing anything about Hoffa's fate because, I mean, why would he admit to it? But some in the law enforcement have long believed that it was his father, Billy Jack Giacalone, who picked up Hoffa in the parking lot of the Makis Red Fox restaurant, drove him to what he thought was a meeting with Vito's brother, which was at the time the street boss of the Detroit family, Anthony Tony Jack Giacalone, and the Teamsters New Jersey local president and Gino Vice crime family, Capo Anthony Tony Provenzano. Hoffa wanted to regain the union's presidency, but he needed Tony Pro's backing in his bid, according to the column. Giacalone notes that it has been almost 50 years since that infamous day, but in that time, the circle of possibilities have narrowed. He says the answer is incredibly simple. He never left Detroit, all right? This, according to Scott Bernstein, the city's top mafia journalist, whose, quote, the gangster report chronicles the underworld across the nation. The investigations don't believe 99% of this narrative that's developed over the last 50 years that there's been perpetuated by the media. He said Jimmy Hoffa was an asset of the Detroit Mafia and had been for previous 30 years. You're going to turn to the family that's been operating that asset for the past 30 years to do the job that needs to be done, close quote. That view has been a focus of the most recent episode, apparently, of a Fox Nation series. But apparently, according to many, or at least according to him, Jimmy Hoffa never left Detroit. And if you go back to this crime family, apparently they were affiliated with or owned some type of sanitation incinerator type thing where they got rid of trash and garbage. And so he believes essentially that that what happened was Jimmy Hoffa was popped in the head a couple of times, perhaps with just like a little 22 or hit upside the head, and then they got rid of his body. Apparently, he had been threatening that something to the effect of I want to make sure that I get this right because they blame another guy by the name of Brugiglio, but apparently Bergoglio said he would not have had anything to do with Hoffa's killing in a million years and blames decades of media distortions and misguided law. He basically said, Jimmy Hoffa, according to this column, was going to rat out the mob. They were making tons and tons of money. He was going to let them know and I'm paraphrasing, basically how they were making some of the money, or perhaps go to the authorities, and so they needed to get rid of them. So it apparently is somewhat of a simple story. I'm going to have to look at this guy, find this guy that does this podcast or whomever writes about this to try to get him on, because it would be a fascinating story to go in depth with this thing. But I think a lot of these stories, listen, I think the stories end where they end. I think the Jimmy Hoffa story ended that night. He disappears that night in Detroit. I think he was killed. I think they burned up his body, or that I think they threw him somewhere, chopped him up real good, and threw him somewhere. But anyway, fascinating story. But it is the anniversary, or we just passed the anniversary of Jimmy Hoffa's death. So I just thought I'd bring you a little bit of that information. All right, now here's another headline that I want to talk to you about real quickly, and then we'll get into the latest with Hunter Biden, and obviously Devon Archer will be on the Hill today. So I definitely want to talk about that as my computer continues to freeze again, because this is what it's been doing today. It's just one of those days. Oh my God, it is one of those days. All right, let's get this. Okay, so Biden imposes higher fuel economy standards on automakers. This, according to the AP and National Review. The National Highway Traffic Safety and Administration proposed stricter fuel economy standards Friday. So this Friday, past Friday, to hasten the transition of the transition of EVs. Automakers will be required to improve the average mileage of passenger cars sold by 2027 and 2032 by 2%. And the average mileage of light trucks by 4% in order to achieve the average fuel economy of 58 miles per gallon by 2032, roughly 2/3 of the new cars automakers sell by 2032. So you have Biden using these, like the Traffic Safety Administration, in order to exact his orders on the people. This is why I'm so sick, and I got to be honest with you guys. I am not that I'm dishonest with you, but I'm so disappointed that I don't feel like any of our candidates are talking about decreasing the size of government. I'm sorry, like the DOJ should be that's a good start, but a lot of these agencies just need to be amputated. Otherwise, when Trump gets in and he goes, guess what? They're still going to be emboldened. They're still going to be there. They're still going to exist. There's going to have to be a lot of legislative work done and a lot of amputation of some of these departments, because all they're trying to do is get rid of your freedom. What cars represent are freedom. You can get in and you can go wherever you want. When it comes to EVs, look at California. There were days where it got too hot. They were like, "Hey, please don't drive your cars as much. It's gonna do a lot of damage to the infrastructure, not necessarily damage, but to the grid. It won't be able to handle it. You won't be able to drive as far. Your battery will wear out even more." The goal is to bring you into cities, right? So you'll end up indulging in mass transportation, and it's just easier to control. So the goal is to scare you with climate change, get you into an EV. Many people can't afford EVs, so you're going to have fewer people driving cars. A lot of the young people coming out don't even want to drive cars. They don't think they need them because they've got Uber, so on, etc. But eventually, I think Uber is going to go by the wayside, because eventually you're going to have more self-driving cars, and then what? So it frustrates me to no end that I feel like we don't have Republicans or conservatives that are saying, whoa, let's throw a wrench in this thing. Let's throw some science at this stuff. You guys are completely lying about the average temperature. Like there's no such thing as a meaningful average temperature scale or a way to regulate that, or because wherever you are in the world, you're going to have a different average temperature. You know what I mean? Depending on the time of year, where I mean, so there is a. I shouldn't say that. I got that kind of mix up. There's an average temperature for the Earth's surface. I think it's like 57.5 degrees or something like that. All right. But obviously, there's some fluctuation depending on where you go around the world. And so the left is trying to claim that, oh, it's skyrocketed to 60 something degrees, the average temperature, but that wasn't true. That wasn't true. But of course, they just say it. And so people believe it to be true. And the reason why we have a heat wave going through parts even of the Southeast is because of this El Nino or whatever it's called. That comes in, I believe, from Africa, if I'm not mistaken. But they used to impact us big time in California. But it's come to the Southeast. And so we're experiencing a heat wave, which is not uncommon in the summer months. But leave it to the left to figure out how to extract power from we the people. And they do it every time. But my frustration with it is I expect the left to act like the left. I'm just frustrated because I'm like, where's the cavalry on the right? I don't want to depress you, but I don't want to play games with you either. I think we live in a post America, not just a post constitutional, just a post America where it's Americana, Americanism, Americans that are strong are just gone. I think that we are in such a minority when it comes to people that actually want to restore the Constitution, that revere the Constitution and love the United States and recognize that God has given us a wonderful gift in the United States. I believe that we're in a post, not just constitutional America, but a post-America America. I don't even with people on the right, I'm not even convinced that there are a lot of Republicans or conservatives that really understand the depths and that we've sunk. I just don't. It's weird to me. It's weird to me because I look at stories like this and I'm like, this is total BS. Where are the people that are fighting on our side? Why is it podcasters and radio hosts and a few conservative leaders and even fewer Christian leaders that are standing up against this stuff and saying these are people that are just trying to take power away from you by scaring you. Anyway, I just figured I'd share that. All right, now let me get on to Hunter Biden. All right, because this is a very important. We'll close with a couple of columns here that I want to bring to your attention. But before, let me take a swig. Also, just a quick reminder, please subscribe to my podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. I would certainly appreciate that, guys. If you guys would share it, I would really appreciate that. We want our voices to be heard. The only way that our voices grow and can be heard is if you share. So if you would please share our podcast, we would certainly appreciate that. Wherever you go to subscribe, also YouTube and Rumble, please subscribe there, rate and review. Give us a 5 so we can move up the charts. All things social media at The Carl Jackson Show, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. We would appreciate that. All right, let me take a swig. So there's 8 questions that need to be asked of Devon Archer. But first, I want to give you a little background and share a little story with you. Another headline that popped up that is very interesting. So Hunter Biden's laptop, according to the New York Post, is full of secret agreements and contracts with foreign business partners. This is astounding. Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop is filled with contracts and agreements between him and foreign business partners that could shine new light on his business dealings and potentially implicate the big guy, Joe Biden. Insiders around the First Son told the Post. Hundreds of documents are littered among the tens of thousands of emails contained on the laptop, but the files were not downloaded onto the device. The investigators cannot open most of them. I bet you the guy that was fixing the laptop could. You guys should give them to him. Hunter Biden joined the board of Burisma. You guys may remember a Ukrainian energy company that was in 2014. During his father's vice presidency, he netted $83,000 per month Hunter's business ties to Burisma are elaborated on agreements that cannot be opened from the hard drive. And so we could know not just Hunter Biden's ties to Burisma, but what agreements he had with Burisma. That could be in writing. Now, we know that the CEO of Burisma, Zlochevsky, wanted Shokin, the prosecuting attorney, to be fired because he was investigating Burisma and their corruption. He wanted to investigate Hunter Biden. He wanted to investigate Burisma. Zlochevsky has claimed that he literally paid the big guy, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, $10 million, I believe total, $5 million each, one for Hunter Biden, one for the big guy. And he wanted the prosecutor fired. That's exactly what Joe Biden did by withholding $1 billion of foreign U.S. aid to Ukraine unless they fired the prosecutor that was investigating his son and the son that is and the company that his son sat on the board of. That is Burisma. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating. So Devon Archer can attest to this stuff because apparently he was around in several meetings, either where Joe Biden was involved in the business deal, physically there, or via speakerphone, where Joe Biden would chime in. And so the foreign business partners of Hunter Biden and Devon Archer would know that this was legit, right? Joe Biden was in on it. And he can testify to that. So the DOJ is scared. They want him in jail. If he offers too much evidence, he'll be Epstein. So I'm curious. I'm really curious what he will tell the House Oversight Committee today. Just reading further into this article from the New York Post. Hunter Biden and his fellow Burisma board member, Devon Archer, were tagged on a November 2015 email from Eric Sherwin, the head of Hunter Biden's investment firm, Rosemont Seneca, to Vadim Pozharsky, the chief financial officer of Burisma. Attached is the agreement executed by BS, which stands for Blue Star Strategies, believe it or not. He said using a shorthand for Burisma's lobbying firm, Blue Star Strategies. I know Devon gave you the immediate scope. This is Sherwin, Eric Sherwin speaking. So Hunter Biden and his fellow Burisma board member Devon Archer were tagged on a November 2015 email from Eric Sherwin. All right. So now I know Devon gave you the immediate scope of work that BS is working on between now and the end of December. He says, we expect a download on the meetings, etc., that they have made so far, and we'll get that to you shortly, according to Sherwin. As a recipient of this email, the file would presumably still be in Archer's possession. So we'll find that out. Hunter started in a business relationship with CEFC and its chairman, Yi Jingming. That's CEFC is a Chinese energy company before being arrested in March 2018. Archer, again, is scheduled to speak today. And it says here, Hunter Biden put his father on the phone. On Monday, he's expected to testify today that Hunter Biden did put his father on the phone with business partners more than 24 times in his presence. When Hunter takes money via an executed agreement from Burisma or some other company and delivers a connection to Joe Biden, that should be a felony violation of the Foreign Agencies Registration Act. This according to Jim Hansen, a global consulting executive who has studied the hard drive. Sources close to GOP Oversight Committee members say Republicans are interested in sizing up Archer as a potential impeachment witness if and when the party decides to pull the trigger and impeach Joe Biden. I don't think that's going to be done because I think they've waited too long. They're on recess. They're not going to be back for a month. It is going to be full-on election season at that point, and we're going to have a presidential debate. So I don't think they're going to want the presidential candidates to weigh in on this. Donald Trump, I think, could do it, and perhaps he should. All right, after all that he's been through. But I don't think an impeachment is going to happen. I like the idea at this point of an impeachment inquiry. As much as I want Joe Biden impeached, I just think that they've done this stuff too late. And there's no doubt that the FBI, the DOJ, has slow walked all information going to the House Oversight Committee, so there wouldn't be a threat of an impeachment, or so that a lot of this information wouldn't come out in time for the election, because the media is doing their best to protect Joe Biden heading into 2024. However, he is doing so poorly in the polls that they may have to kick him overboard. So that's yet to be seen. All right. So anyway, just wanted to give you some background on Devon Archer, and apparently there's more information on Hunter Biden's laptop that has failed to be untapped as of yet, that can tell us what type of agreements and contracts that he had with foreign business partners. What did Hunter Biden agree to? What did Joe Biden know about it? Because for Hunter Biden to agree with some of these foreign business partners, it would had to have been on the conditions that Joe Biden himself, in my opinion, would to have set. Because they're not, these foreign business people are not going to work with Hunter Biden, a crackhead. I mean, I know they're corrupt, but they want to make sure that they get their money, that they get whatever it is that they want, and that they wanted to exact from Joe Biden, from the United States of America. Now, here are 8 questions according to Just the News. And John Solomon came up with this that I think should be answered. Very good questions, by the way, from John Solomon. But here's what he said, and he's talking about questions that should be asked of Devon Archer. Number 1, why did Burisma hire Hunter Biden in April 2014 on the eve of his father as vice president, making his first major visit to Ukraine? And what did Archer believe the firm wanted from Hunter Biden being on its board and working as one of its lawyers? That's a very long question, but a very pertinent one. Why did Burisma hire Biden in April 2014? This is on the eve of his father's visit, the current VP at the time, or then VP at the time, making his first major visit to Ukraine. And what did Archer believe the firm wanted from Hunter Biden being on its board and working as one of its lawyers? Solomon says, John Solomon of Just the News, this question has lingered since 2019, when this reporter first disclosed that Joe Biden bragged his VP had that he had fired Ukraine's chief prosecutor, Viktor Shokin. We went through that by withholding $1 billion in U.S. aid at a time Shokin was investigating Burisma for corruption. But it has taken on new significance when lawmakers this summer obtained an FBI document showing Burisma's owner, Zlochevsky, told a bureau informant that he was coerced into paying Hunter and Joe Biden $10 million to help deal with Shokin and the corruption allegations. That's what was told by an FBI document, or by an informant. All right, number 2. What did Joe Biden know about Hunter Biden's business dealings in China, Ukraine, Romania, and Russia? Remember, Joe Biden said that he never spoke to his son about his business dealings, and then the narrative changed that he never did business with his son. All right, so first you say you never spoke to your son, which is an absolute lie. Everybody, you have a family member, you know what they do for a living, just in casual conversation, hey, what's going on with work? How's work? Everybody does that, right? But Joe Biden wants you to believe that he and Hunter Biden don't do it, despite the fact that his crackhead son is coming in contact with some of the most powerful people in the world. All right. Says here, Archer had several interactions with Joe Biden as VP, including a 2009 Christmas party at the VP's mansion, in April 2014 exchange at the White House, just as Hunter Biden was joining the Burisma board, and August 2014 golf outing in the Hamptons, and a spring 2015 dinner in Washington, D.C. at Cafe Milano, where several of Hunter Biden's business associates were in attendance. Among them were a Russian oligarch named Elena Baturina and Burisma executive Vadim Polchevsky. All right, the third question. Why did Joe Biden phone into some of the Burisma board meetings, and specifically Joe Biden did, and specifically a December 2015 meeting in Dubai, when the firm was panicked that Shokin, the prosecutor, was escalating his probe of the Ukrainian firm? Again, this is when Joe Biden Hunter Biden was also there pressing his father. Hey, this is what Zlochevsky and the other executive, the chief financial officer of Burisma, need done, because the prosecutor in Ukraine was really putting pressure on Burisma to try to find out about their corruption and the Biden family connection. Number 4, why did the Chinese approach Hunter Biden and Devon Archer in 2013 to form a joint investment firm? And what did the Chinese say they wanted out of the relationship? This is very important. It says here, Archer in 2013 co-founded BHR Partners, a joint venture between Hunter Biden's Rosemont Seneca firm and the Chinese Bohai Capital investment firm. BHR Partners is a Beijing-backed private equity firm controlled by Bank of China Limited. According to documents made public, that deal was struck shortly after Hunter Biden flew aboard Joe Biden's Air Force Two jet and his father briefly met one of the Chinese business suitors. All right, number 5, why did Burisma or Baturina, once Russia's richest female oligarch and the wife of the former Moscow mayor, reach out to firms associated with Hunter Biden, Devon Archer and other business partners back in 2013 and 2014? And what did she get out of the relationship? So one of the documents the FBI seized, according to Just the News, during the Archer tribal fraud probe, which resulted in the prison sentence. Supposedly, Devon Archer did a tribal community out of, I can't remember, millions of dollars. He said it's a scam to shut him up at one point. Let's see if he's still willing to say the same today. But I would totally believe him if he said that. I mean, we see what the Biden administration is capable of, all right? So he could be sent to prison right away. The DOJ wants him to report, told the prosecutor they want him to report to jail like now, before even his testimony, all right? So now the document claimed that Baturina had invested as much as $200 million in projects inside the business empire that included Archer, Hunter Biden, and other business partners. All right, now, number 6, was Joe Biden ever promised or sent any money from his son's overseas business partners? And did Hunter even confide that he had paid bills and expenses for his father? An FBI FD 1023 memo suggested that Joe Biden was to receive $5 million from that Burisma deal, but that Zlochevsky bragged it would be difficult for anyone to track for at least 10 years. In addition, emails on Hunter Biden's laptop recovered by the FBI show his and his father's finances were commingled, with Hunter Biden paying many of Joe Biden's bills and the future president once sending his Delaware tax refund to his son to reimburse him for expenses. So these two didn't only do business together, but apparently taxes as well. Number 7, did Hunter Biden have any role in the tribal bond scheme, or did he derive any direct or indirect financial benefits from the companies involved in it? Again, did Hunter Biden have any role in the tribal bond scheme, or did he derive any direct or indirect financial benefits from the companies involved in it? All right, so Hunter Biden was never named in the criminal trial of Archer and other business partners, but emails on his laptop show that Hunter Biden and his team were panicked when word of Archer's imminent arrest was made public and he was subpoenaed. So maybe we should panic Hunter Biden and arrest him. The last question, did Hunter Biden have a strategy of targeting foreign oligarchs with legal troubles? That's interesting. In addition to Zlochevsky and Baturina, there is extensive evidence that Hunter Biden and his firms had contacts with other foreign oligarchs, including a Chinese energy oligarch named Yi Jinping, later detained in Beijing, a Ukrainian oligarch named Dmitry Firtash, who was indicted in Washington, and a Romanian real estate oligarch, and Gabriel Popovici, who was dealing with corruption issues in his own home country. All right, and it says here, the article closes out, what is a coincidence or strategy to do business with these sort of foreigners? And what did each oligarch want from the then VP's son? Why would all these oligarchs be willing to work with Hunter Biden? But these are the questions that must be asked of Devon Archer, according to Just the News, and I totally concur with that. So it's going to be a bang up day. I can't wait to see what happens. Hopefully, Devon Archer has the courage to just speak the truth. He says he's not going in there to necessarily be an adversary of the president. He's not going in there to be a prop for the Republican Party. And I'm paraphrasing here. He just wants to share the truth. All right. So let's hope he does so. If he's truthful, I'm sure he's been deposed before. So I don't think he can lie much about this stuff. So if he's going to be truthful, he's going to tell you that, listen, he was around and he is able to connect Joe Biden to Hunter Biden's business deals. Not many other people can do that, right? Tony Bobulinski did it. They tried to shut him down. This is a different season. More of this news is starting to leak out on a drip basis. But Devon Archer can testify that Joe Biden was the big guy and was part of the deal because, in fact, he was there either in person or over the phone via speakerphone. Joe Biden was part of the scamming scheme to get money from foreign nations. It's amazing. We just live in a different world right now. It's crazy what we're living through. But we just got to keep fighting. We have no choice but to keep fighting to win local elections and to win the national election in 2024 and put these people on defense and put everybody that needs to go to jail in jail. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe wherever you go to get your podcast. Don't forget, My Pillow right now in queen size, only $19.98. Use the promo code Carl, all right? And you will get that deal and deep discounts on. If there's anything you've ever wanted on My Pillow, right now is the time to buy. All you have to do is go to Radio Podcast Square, enter my name, Carl, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. All right, guys, until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.